Welcome back. So ANC Gauteng Chairperson Panyaza Lesufi has been re-elected Premier in the province. Political parties in the provincial legislature showed a united force on Friday as they elected the Premier, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker unanimously. This morning, we're in conversation with Lesufi to reflect on the appointment and the plans for the province. Premier, congratulations and welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for making time for us. Speak to us first of all about the difficulty of finding a working relationship with the political parties that you found this relationship with.
I doubt it is a difficulty, to be quite frank, because I think we are the only province that have developed a formula on how to work with coalition partners. We are running 3 big metros, Tshwane, Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg through that coalition arrangement. We also have 2 districts that we are running in terms of that arrangement, including 1 local municipality in Mogale. So we've developed some, say, experience, expertise and talent on how to work on these arrangements. And now that voters have decided that we should work together at the provincial and national level, we just have to align our system and ensure that we make this to happen. So we are open-minded and we have openly accepted this outcome. And as you said in your intro, we've already established systems and we'll be in a position to conclude this task in the next few days after President Cyril Ramaphosa have released his cabinet. We'll follow suit immediately and then start to work.
So you're only announcing your executive after the president announces?
Because these are linked, to be quite frank. Remember, there are agreements at national level, and I suspect there will be portfolio arrangement as well at that level. So we just have to align ourselves with those resolutions. We don't want to be ahead of national government or ahead of our times. We just have to work through that arrangement and ensure that everything is resolved speedily.
So how does it work? Because taking into consideration that you are the chairperson of the ANC in the province, the PEC, it has its own autonomy, right? In terms of even deciding who forms part of the executive. So do you lose that autonomy now that there is a government of national unity being discussed at a national level?
Not necessarily, but we have to supplement it because it had deadlock-breaking mechanisms that we have not formulated at the provincial level. It also have a broad range agreement. If you go through the statement of intent that was agreed upon at national level, we have not formulated one statement of intent at the provincial level, and we feel that the national one can accommodate us. So we just have to follow that until we are quite convinced that we can stand on our own. But where we are, we really believe is a very important thing. That's what voters wanted, that we work together and then we liaise and ensure that we establish government together, and we'll be in a position to establish that government before the end of this week.
Yeah. So that statement of intent also speaks about, of course, which is at the national level, that whilst recognizing the president's prerogative to appoint members of the executive, such appointments should be done in consultation with the leaders of the respective parties of members considered for appointment. So this would apply at a provincial level as well?
Indeed, I'm meeting Mr. Solim Simang immediately after this interview as well, so that we can exchange notes. I mean, we've been given this mandate, so we have to ensure that it works. It means that there must be trust, there must be transparency, but most importantly, accountability. I will frown upon a process where if you allocate a certain portfolio to a certain political party, they believe this is their portfolio and they have to do it as they wish. I really think that that would be a wrong mentality. This is a collective, we must work as a team and ensure that we account to our voters as a team.
Yeah. Do the outcomes of the elections also inform the distribution of allocation of executive seats?
Automatically, yes.
Okay, so the ANC received around 37% of the votes. How does that then play out in the government of provincial unity?
Well, what we've agreed for now, I think the national team is meeting this week to deal with the allocation of seats. What we have agreed for now is that both the legislature and the executive must be representative of all political parties that are part of this arrangement. We didn't want a situation where somebody is in the executive and somebody is providing oversight on that executive, as if they have to account to a certain political party. So the arrangement that we have now is what we call cross-pollination, where everyone can be part of the executive, and they can also be part of the legislature and legislature committees. And that's the approach and the mentality we want to encourage.
Yeah. So does this mean that in the case of Gauteng that the MK party would be involved in that executive? Because if you look, for instance, at the nominations and how things played out in the provincial legislature on Friday, when the Speaker, Murakane, was being nominated, she was being backed, that nomination was being backed by a member of the MK party.
We're not excluding anyone. I think that's the spirit of
So does it mean that the MK party will be included in the executive?
If they raise their hand to be part of the executive or they raise their hand to be part of the legislature, who are we to stop them? We would just want everyone to be part of this government so that this government can function.
Yeah. Did you have any conversations with the MK party at the provincial level?
No. As I said, the discussions were picked up from national, on the basis of the national resolution formulated the provincial government. So at national, I'm fully aware that the African National Congress met with MK party. And if they conclude the discussions, we will be in a position to invite everyone in the province. And if they come and they attend and they raise their hand to be part of this government, we're not going to exclude anyone.
Yeah. Then what's your understanding of what played out on Friday when that nomination came for Murakane for the Speaker and then being backed by the MK party?
The reality is that everyone voted for us.
Yeah.
Everyone voted for us. So I don't think that we should make a specific...
So there weren't meetings that were held before?
No, not at all. Not at all. Our team engaged everyone, naturally, just to ensure that people are in the legislature, to introduce ourselves and also to understand their thinking and their approach on this particular matter. So at that level, yes. But when we're in the legislature, we just allowed everyone to make their own choices, and people made their own choices and unanimously agreed to elect the leadership that they've elected.
And the EFF?
Including them. We wanted to have a session with them initially, and they put some preconditions that unfortunately were linked to national processes, so we had to wait for national processes to unfold. But we have our own private discussions with them, and unfortunately those discussions could not be concluded before the election can take place, purely because of national developments.
Yeah. What are some of those conditions that you couldn't meet?
I think it would be unfair to put them in the public space for now, but they're all known, the issues that they've raised.
Yeah. The decision that has been taken at a provincial and national level is cascading down to a local level as well, and it's something that I raised with your spokesperson for the PEC last week as well, and he said that perhaps maybe there will come a time where you need to review that particular relationship, the working relationship at a local government level as well. Where's the ANC PEC with regards to that?
That is inevitable, but it's not on the agenda now. I think on the agenda is to establish a provincial government of unity. And if we establish that government, we'll then deposit the ideas. If people feel that we should cascade it to local government, I don't think that it's a bad idea. I really believe it will be a good idea so that we have full control on our responsibilities. Reality is, some of the work that we're doing at provincial government, it's not the function of provincial government. We're just stepping in to assist local government, building of roads or construction of roads in some of the municipalities, provision of transformers, fighting crime. These are the roles that local government should play. So if our partners feel, or those that are within the government of provincial unity feel that we should extend the relationship to local government, I think it will be a brilliant idea that should be entertained.
So who makes the first decision? Would it be the PEC that decides on it first?
Yeah.
Or because if you say that it's left up to the partners of the government of national unity or provincial unity, what does that mean?
Well, you need to be sponsored either by the National Executive Committee of the ANC or the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC. We deliberated on it as the Provincial Executive Committee. We noted some of the limitations of some of our partners at local government, but we're debating it within the current framework. But now that we have a broader framework that has been developed at national, I think we can incorporate that. But it's a decision that needs to be taken by those two structures, the National Executive Committee or the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC. Yeah.
Have those discussions started as yet?
Not yet.
Considering not yet. The decision that was taken in Ekurhuleni, the mayor there,
well, that was an isolated area. I mean, you've got, you can't postpone service delivery. The reason why we worked together with those partners was for us to ensure that service delivery is accelerated. But if you have almost a week budget, which is key, cannot be approved, and we are differing not on the principles of what we've agreed upon, but we're differing on things that are outside that principle. I really feel that the executive mayor of Ekurhuleni felt compelled to take the action that he has taken. And if our partners feel that it was a wrong action, I think we'll be in a position to meet and try to clean those differences. But if not, we just have to find a mechanism of resolving that impasse.
Yeah, and this, of course, will affect the city of Joburg. It's not confined to one metro.
It's not ideal, but if it goes to other municipalities, I've heard the leadership of the IFP say, the leadership of the EFF saying that it will affect, or they will recall their members in other municipalities. It will be unfortunate, but as I said, government can't wait. So if they want to pull out, or they feel that we need to have a discussion, we'll have that discussion and deal with the issues that we need to attend to.
Okay, in conversation with the newly re-elected Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, is also the chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng, looking ahead to the inauguration of the president, which will be happening on Wednesday, and then, of course, the announcement of the executive, and then after we'll hear the announcement of the Gauteng executive and who would be some of the people that will be included. But we'll continue the conversation with the Premier after the short break. And welcome back. We're in conversation with the ANC Gauteng Chairperson, Panyaza Lesufi, who has been re-elected as the Premier of the province here. Gauteng, which is, of course, the biggest province in terms of population, biggest province in terms of a GDP contribution. But I want to speak about what these elections mean for the ANC and understanding of especially the left-leaning political parties. Look at 2019, for instance, the ANC had 57% of the vote. 2024, 40.18%. MK Party obviously new, 14.59%, in the EFF, and 9.52%. And you look at what has happened in Gauteng as well, 37.7% that the ANC has received, 12.93% the EFF, and the MK Party at 9.79%. How should we understand what has happened here?
Well, Aldrin, my analysis is that the ANC voters have remained within the framework of the ANC, but chose the factional battles that have developed within the ANC. So you have those that still believe in the ANC, supporting the ANC, which is almost 6 million voters. And you have those that feel that something needs to happen. And they didn't vote for the ANC, but they voted for an organization which leaders still believe is a member of the ANC, still use the name of the ANC military wing called MK. So our voter base remained within the ANC tradition, but they've then incorporated the factional differences that we have, where we have those that were members of the Youth League remaining within the EFF, and those that felt that something needed to happen went to MK, and the traditional base then remained with the ANC. If you combine those figures, it takes us to the same figures that we had in the last two elections. So we just need to find a mechanism of ensuring that we really deal with these issues and resolve them as speedily as possible. But I don't think that new parties like your Boza, Rise, and Action SA have made any major dent. They put their resources, they put their energy, and they've not made the dent that they thought they would, which simply means that the traditional base of the ANC remained within the ANC framework, but they chose the factional battles of the ANC and separated the votes according to those factional battles.
Yeah, and you make a good point. Rise Mzansi, for instance, secured one seat in the provincial legislature, 0.98%. Bossa 0.76%, in Action SA, they secured two seats with 4.16%. So what are the lessons then that should be drawn from this particular experience for the ANC and the other two political parties, and the impact that that has had on your electoral fortunes as the governing party? Because some people and pundits believe that even with the decision that has been taken by the ANC now, in terms of who are some of those political parties that will form part of the government of national unity, is that you will find some ANC members being angry at the decision and deciding to walk.
Which is unfortunate. What do you do if voters don't agree with you? Do you stay, just say, we occupy opposition benches and allow very problematic institutions to run government? Sometimes you must picture a government without the ANC, Adrian. Just imagine Freedom Front running the intelligence and the army of the country. Just imagine certain political parties running certain departments. It will be chaos. It will be really unthinkable. So what the ANC had to do is to say, we respect the voice of the voters, which is something that it's there in the Freedom Charter, that the people shall govern. The Freedom Charter never said the ANC shall govern. It said the people shall govern. And what did the people say? Go and work with different political parties. And we've seized the moment because of our expertise, our talents, to say we'll be the voice and the leader of society and played that role to invite people to the negotiating table. Others didn't want to believe. And we had a tight deadline of 14 days to establish government. So we can't entertain people that have petty egos, that feel that this government must be like this. When we have a tight deadline, and as a government, as a political party that respect the Constitution, and the Constitution was dictating to us that this must happen by this particular period. Now that we've got a government, I think we should just proceed and deal with these things. I'm not saying it will be perfect. There will be limitations, there will be challenges. It's something new. But it's something that the African National Congress must provide leadership on.
Do you think that the decision could have been different had the MK party been willing to have a conversation with the ANC, and perhaps maybe the EFF didn't have the conditions that they had put forward?
Well, Check, you can't blame them. They felt that the elections were rigged. They felt that there were things that were not correct, and they wanted to attend to those issues rather than spend time on the negotiating table. So it might not be matters of their own making, but we had a constitutional obligation to establish government within 14 days. And within that context, we had to meet with the political parties that they have. Now that they've taken a decision last night that they're going to occupy their seat in government, there was an opportunity to still engage. I think the ANC has been very, very clear that the engagement didn't end, and whoever that still wants to be part of this government will be in a position to enter into those discussions. But there's another resolution that was taken by the National Executive Committee of the ANC. That is very, very crucial, Aldrin, that we are calling for a conference of a democratic future. To say, now that we have a government of national unity, what is the new shared vision for South Africa? And that's very important, because we should not establish government on the basis that I feel I can be a friend with Aldrin or any other person. We must have a shared vision that will protect the country and ensure that the country prosper. And the resolution of the National Executive Committee of the ANC to say that let's convene a conference of the democratic future, including parties that are not in government, including churches, sporting bodies, civil society. I think it's a brilliant idea, and that's what needs to be accelerated. And I think some of us are looking forward to that engagement, because that's the new South Africa all of us should embrace.
Who chairs it?
Well, that's the modalities that those that in government and those that are organizing it should. I mean, it's not the first time, as I said. We had one before, around, I think around just after 1990. So we can be in a position to establish institutions that can agree or formulate or lead in the establishment. But we need that conference of a democratic future too, so that we then shape the future that we need. I mean, with the high rate of unemployment, young people, as we're celebrating June 16, their cries can't be ignored for opportunities and for them to be part of government and to be part of some sporting activities and events. So we need that conference for a democratic future too, to be convened as soon as possible. Yeah,
well, the ANC believes that one way of helping you get there, or helping the country get there, is through having a deployment committee, which the ANC has come out to defend. Whereas on the other end, you have some political parties, including the Democratic Alliance, that are against a deployment committee. So at this convention at a national level, how do we address how to appoint somebody who is able to take that vision forward? The Democratic Alliance speaks about merit-based, but as we see now in the Western Cape and the outcomes of the appointment of their executive is that merit-based doesn't necessarily mean that it will reflect the demographics of this country.
But what did the Constitutional Court say? It says that deployment committee or deployment policies is not unconstitutional. It's just how it's been utilized that needs to be reviewed. It's just to be transparent. Make your information available to anyone who likes that information, because we're running government of institutions. And cadre development, I think, or deployment has been misinterpreted in our country and politicized unnecessarily. I mean, it happens across all the globe. It says the best who qualifies, who will also ensure that there's representativity and equality, must be deployed. It doesn't say the weak, it doesn't say the underqualified, it doesn't say those that represent a certain race alone should be represented. It's just that in the midst of elections, people will misinterpret it and deal with it in the manner that we have. I've had the opportunity to work for government for 28 years. And I've seen the government before, in the Western Cape, before the ANC was, when the ANC was in charge and after the ANC was in charge. I was in the education space. Just check the HOD that was responsible for education in the Western Cape. Immediately when they took over, what did they do? They replaced him and put another person that agrees with them. That's how it works. It's just that it has been highly politicized, but I don't think it can be a point of differences. All of us, we agree, the best candidate must be there, but we must understand where we come from. And we need to have redress to ensure that this is represented. And I'm glad that we've given the example of the Western Cape, that they can go on merit-based, as they say, but check the representativity, it's there. And it's not illegal to have other people represented in government. It's not illegal to have women represented in government. It's not illegal to have people with disability or people that have a different belief to be in government. And we will protect that, whether we are in partnership with whoever. We will ensure that government must be inclusive and it must also be reflective of the demographics. What does that then mean for
Panyaza Lesufi, the head of the government in Gauteng, when you say, okay, so now we're about to fill the vacancies in my executive, which are the names that you are putting forward? Do you bring forward the conversation around non-racialism, non-sexism, the question around social justice and redress, which are part of the fundamental principles of the government of national unity?
Well, we have to. We have no choice. We have to. I mean, I can't...
What do you say?
My conscience does not allow me to have an old-male cabinet.
We are giving you 7 positions. You guys can fill the 7 positions. And then they come back and here are the names, and all of them are male, or all of them are the majority are white. In that case, what does Panyaza Lesufi then do?
We'll balance it with gender. But my conscience does not allow me to have an all-male cabinet. My conscience doesn't allow me. Even if they can give me all-male, I have to balance it with others so that we can move forward. We will not be tracked down on the basis of the belief of other people. We'll make this thing to work. But representativity is non-negotiable. This country belongs to all of us. And everyone must be given opportunity, from young people to older people, people with disability, and people that are coming from various backgrounds. So we will continue on that, with that agenda until everyone accepts that that's the best way to ensure that everyone is included in government.
Okay. In conclusion, do you see the ANC surviving this? Do you see the ANC growing beyond the 40% that it secured nationally in the next election?
There are 2 things with this government of national unity. It's either is the end of all of us or is the beginning of a new era for all of us. And I'm the strong view that the ANC is not a political party that can die overnight. That the ANC still held the best policies and still become the only political organization that can pull South Africa where we have. We had our own missteps. It's only when we understand those missteps and put plans to ensure that we don't repeat those missteps that will ensure that the African National Congress stay long.
Should the party meet and reflect on what happened?
We have to. We have no choice. We can't avoid that. We have to. And I'm glad that the National Executive Committee has taken a decision for 3 full days that we have to go and unpack these results and develop programs. I can tell you, there are no holy cows. And there are many people that have been quick, and I've seen them in public platforms projecting their ideas in the public space. I think we should call them desist. The NEC will convene all of us. Let's use that platform to analyze. There's no one that must sound more revolutionary than others because they're ill-disciplined, they're going on social media and other platforms to raise their views. We will raise our views within the structures of the ANC, and a stronger, bigger, bolder, agile ANC will emerge and will confront these issues openly and deal with the issues that affect our people.
Will heads roll?
Well, I'm not a person of calling for heads to roll when we've not made an analysis. Make analysis first. If the analysis convinces us that heads must roll, let it be so. But if analysis says let's strengthen and pull everyone together, let it be so. We must not hunt with a salt. You might miss the trophy that you want to hunt.